presentation.
Welcome, everyone, and I'm looking forward to any comments or questions you have. This will be our last webinar before the registration deadline of April the 1st, and so I want to make sure that you have all of your questions answered. This slide deck actually walks through the history of the eHealth Innovation Partnership Program, so you can read that and look at that at your leisure. What I'd like to focus on today is really the things that will probably concern you the most, which is really the technical details, I think, of the application process and its focus. So there are two objectives for this initiative. The first is to identify patient-oriented eHealth solutions that will improve health outcomes, the patient experience, and lower the cost of care along the continuum. We expect for any given group, and we've identified two groups that we are initially focusing on, seniors with complex needs and youth with mental health, that as we've gone through the country hosting with our partners regional workshop events, we've clustered these events around trying to understand the current patient journey and what we've called the challenges or the pain points along the journey where there are gaps and inefficiencies in care that really could potentially be fixed through eHealth solutions. So we're expecting that most individuals who will bring forward applications will bring forward applications that have identified some of these gaps and inefficiencies and have actually are proposing to integrate perhaps often a number of solutions, and I think this is what we've seen across the country, to improve that patient journey. So that's the first objective. This is just two examples that have come up in terms of seniors, of some of the challenges and pain points, which is the confusion in sort of navigating the system for youth with mental health challenges or problems, and the coordination and communication of care for seniors with complex needs who are often involved in many aspects of our healthcare system receiving services. The second objective is to foster partnerships between between healthcare innovation communities and industry so that they can co-develop, co-adapt, and evaluate the clinical benefit and cost effectiveness of these integrated eHealth solutions that the applicants will be proposing into clinical and population health environments. We know that small and medium-sized enterprises are really the innovation engine in any industry, including in the health industry. And in order to foster these kinds of collaborations, this is one of the purposes of having these regional events, is to work with regional economic development agencies and provincial health research funders to co-host with them these regional events that would foster these partnerships between Canadian technology companies and healthcare innovation communities. The second thing that has been raised is that there is a need to define some of the benchmarks that will be necessary to evaluate the utility of adopting these eHealth solutions into the healthcare system in order to improve both cost-effective care delivery and the patient journey. And there has been a lack of consensus on what is needed to do that. So this funding opportunity does provide a link to consensus guidelines that have been developed on guidelines for comparative cost effectiveness in complex interventions. So please take a look at the funding opportunity. You'll find that link there. It was put together by CIHR, the Institute for Health Services and Policy Research, and the Institute of Health Economics through a consensus of health economists and health services and policy researchers across the country. So please take a look at that. It will be helpful in thinking through your application and the kind of data you'll need to collect. So this is just an example of the regional events that we've been holding. I must say they've been inspiring. People have been incredibly creative and have shared with us stories not only of the challenges in the patient journey, but also of successful partnerships that are working well and what the secret ingredients to success are for that story. So here's an example of a group in Vancouver sharing their stories. And here's an example of industry partners, health innovation community partners, researchers getting together with patients and end users to sort of problem solve their way through the patient journey, how we can do that better. So when we talk about healthcare innovation communities, we're really talking the fundamental characteristic of a healthcare innovation community is it has to be in the business of delivering service. It has to be delivering services to in some way or another, to these two populations that are the focus of this initiative. So seniors with complex needs and youth with health issues. So that's the most important thing. Because what we're trying to do is bolt into the back of that service delivery program a new way of doing business through eHealth innovation-enabled care delivery. So that's absolutely critical that they are in that kind of a business. The second thing is that they really need sort of 4 to 5 ingredients depending upon what it is. That is, they need a scientific lead, an independent researcher that will be taking a lead on developing the evaluation. A clinical lead because you will be, or equivalent if it's in a university school environment, that is in the business of delivering that service, is leading that service delivery, and would need to be a champion in actually a redesign of that service program. A decision maker who has the authority to make a decision about whether or not these interventions, these eHealth enabled interventions, can be incorporated into the care delivery environment. And then finally, patients, families, and caregivers, as well as health professionals who will be people who will need to use this new program. They need to be involved at the get-go in this sort of rethinking, redesign. And of course, an IT infrastructure that either is present already or could be introduced that would support these eHealth solutions. So a few examples are provided here of the kind of things that would be potentially healthcare innovation communities. The second part of the team needs to be Canadian health technology companies or foreign subsidiaries. And these companies, and we're imagining it would be plural that would come in, meaning more than one with any given application, need to have products that may make a difference and are thought to be important in terms of solving gaps and inefficiencies in care. That they have a good, strong management team, because this will be important in being able to deliver on such a product, and attractive business objectives that would make them a likely candidate for positive scale-up should these solutions be successful. Although the eHealth Partnership Program is focusing on small and medium-sized enterprises, of course, larger companies are also welcome. It's just that the design of this initiative has been focusing on this group of companies where we think that there could be tremendous innovative potential. The investment that CIHR will be making is $12 million. I think this has increased slightly to $12.5 million. And that will be matched with a one-to-one dollar match coming from the applicant partners. So a total approximately $25 million. So we set this up so that you have a maximum of 4 years to complete your planned program of development and evaluation. You don't have to take 4 years. You could take 1, 2, or 3, but it's been set up so that allows you to take up to 4. That means that CIHR is contributing over that period of time $750,000. Of that, it's $187,500 per year. The applicants need to bring a dollar equivalent to the table for every dollar they ask for. And of those dollars equivalents or actual cash, a half of that or a quarter of the total investment needs to come from industry itself. We want to make sure that industry is invested in the process, and so that's the reason for actually having that stipulation. All the matching dollars could come from industry, but it's certainly a minimum of half of the applicant's component, or 25% of the total, need to come from industry. We do recognize that small, medium-sized enterprises are actually not cash wealthy typically, and furthermore that other economic development agencies in Canada have often invested in these industries to make them successful. We wanted to leverage that investment and take advantage of that, and so we've put a back window date for permissible matching funds back 18 months from the date of funding, which would be October 1st, so that the money that has been invested in getting these companies and their technologies up to a technology readiness level that is suitable for implementation in live patient environments. was possible. And moreover, we've actually made have a fairly generous envelope for what's considered cash equivalents. So cash is certainly welcome, but also cash equivalents such as development costs, price reduction of the platform, implementation costs, training costs, maintenance costs, updates, tuning developments, et cetera, are all considered to be eligible matching funds. In terms of the timeline for the application, this is our last webinar, as I mentioned. Our last partnership workshop will be in Montreal and coming up soon. And there is a registration deadline for applicants who are interested in submitting an application of April the 1st. This is not onerous. It requires you to indicate how much money you're asking for and a one-page summary that is going to be used by the team at CIHR and making sure that we have the right people around the table to review the applications. So it's a way of signaling in advance the kind of content area you're going to be in. The full application is due June 3rd, 2015. And a review of the applications will occur through the summer, and funding start date is expected to be October 1st, 2015. In terms of eligibility, we're expecting, as I mentioned, a scientific lead, clinical lead, decision maker lead, and patient family representatives to be in the team and included and identified as such. We need one of the principal investigators or co-principal investigators to be from an institution that's eligible to receive CIHR funds. All the universities are eligible to receive CIHR funds, as are many of the hospital-based research institutes. If you have any questions about whether or not the institution that you're coming from is eligible, this can be handled by the experts at CIHR. As I mentioned before, the team needs to identify the end users who are going to be involved, and they need to be involved in the adaptation and integration of these new solutions into care, and the partnership has already been outlined. The review criteria are divided. This is a non-traditional review. It's a very structured process. All of the criteria that will be used in this structured review are in the funding opportunity, which is on the CIHR website. A third of the evaluation will focus on the quality of the planned intervention, meaning how are you going to change the service delivery, how is it going to deal with gaps and inefficiencies, and is it probable that that will improve both the patient journey and the cost effectiveness of care. The second will be on the quality of the eHealth Innovation Evaluation Plan, and the final third of score will be on the team itself. As I mentioned, we have one workshop left, which is March 27th, 2015 in Montreal. We've been pretty much across the country and have really found it incredibly enjoyable to actually connect with really very creative colleagues. Please stay connected. We've been using this hashtag to support exchange on the eHIPP opportunity. And finally, if you have any questions that aren't answered in this webinar, please contact Christine or Olivier at CIHR, or Hala, who has introduced this webinar today at the Institute for Health Services and Policy Research. These are their email addresses, and they will be incredibly supportive in answering any questions you might have. I'm going to stop there, but I'm just going to ask the lead on this at CIHR, Linda McKenzie, if she has any further comments to make about the eHealth Partnership Program before I open it up for questions.
No, thanks, Robin. I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thanks, Linda. So the first question, and I'll just read it here, is can implementation costs, including human resources, example, healthcare professionals, needed to deliver the eHealth solution, i.e., if the eHealth solution facilitates contact between patient and eHealth provider, but would need to fund the healthcare provider time actually to test and implement the solution. Okay, so I guess we should distinguish a couple of things, which is, you know, end users may be involved in shaping the intervention, in adapting it for the specificities of the gaps and inefficiencies in that environment, and their time to assist in that sort of user-centered adaptation could be paid for, as could be patients and families who are involved in terms of their time and inconvenience to participate in the adaptation of these solutions to the new care delivery program. Once adapted to the new care delivery program, you're now running the evaluation. Is the time of these health professionals, of course, patients, would not be paid for. This would be a part and parcel of the new care delivery program and presumably would be paid for through the usual route. I'll just see if there's any other questions.
So again, everyone, just a soft reminder here to post your questions using the chat box on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and to send those to all participants.
Okay, another question is, can we add applicants after the registration? Linda?
Yes.
You take this question?
Sure can. And yes, you can definitely add individuals after the registration. If the nominated principal applicant changes, though, please let us know, because otherwise we won't necessarily be able to match the registration to the application once it comes in.
Okay. There's another question. Could the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation receive CIHR funding and do the evaluation, i.e. fill the researcher requirement? I think there's two issues here. One is the eligibility of Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation to receive funds, and I'll let Linda answer that question. The second has to do with whether or not a foundation can be contracted to do the evaluation. One of the things, I mean, there is an expectation there would be, as part and parcel of the protocol, a strong evaluation design. There is an expectation that it would be a pragmatic randomized trial, conducted either as a cluster randomized trial, step wedge design, or whatever. There is an expectation that reviewers of applications would actually look at who's leading the evaluation team, who is the scientist leading the evaluation team. Do they have the capacity to do this? Have they had the experience in doing this? There are research institutes and maybe also research funding organizations that actually have these scientists within their midst and would be part and parcel of the team. I would imagine that those scientists would often also have kind of a university appointment or a research institute appointment as well. But I don't know if the technical details as to whether or not scientists located in other environs who would have those kind of skill sets. Would there be any issues, Linda, in your mind in them being in a health research foundation setting and that health research foundation setting receiving the funding for that?
In terms of your first question, no, I don't think the location matters in terms of the researcher, but for the funds flowing, I just double-checked our website, and the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation is not one of the eligible institutions to receive CIHR funding, so the money would not be able to flow directly there. It would have to go to an eligible institution whereby it can then be transferred wherever it needs to go based on the needs of the grant.
Okay, thanks very much, Linda. The next question is, will a similar opportunity be available next year? I'm not sure I could really answer that question at this point. A fair bit will depend upon, there's many changes occurring at CIHR right now. In the full game plan in terms of funding for eHealth, in fact, there is a second phase that was contemplated and planned, not yet approved, which is to ramp up and create a larger opportunity to network these health innovation communities together across Canada and link them internationally. So that's what I'm expecting will be part and parcel of the next phase of this initiative. There may well be a introduction of this program again next year, and I think we're a little bit premature to make a decision about that at the present time. I think it will depend upon many different factors, including the upcoming federal budget. How many grants for each adolescent mental health and senior health? Okay, so we divided the matching dollars from CIHR so that we can ideally fund 8 in youth and mental health and 8 in seniors with complex needs. If we end up by not having a sufficient number of fundable applications that we will, in one pot, that we may end up by funding more in either like youth mental health or seniors, depending upon if that occurs, but the intention is to fund half and half. The next question is, what kind of document is required regarding the matching funds from the SMEs and other sources? Any agreement has to be completed for the application. Linda, do you want to take that on?
Sure. So as part of the How to Apply section, you'll note that there's a partnership details form that will have to be submitted. In that form, the dollar amounts or in-kind or cash equivalent contributions can be added to that document. In addition to that, very shortly we will post some viability assessment criteria for the company. Those will be emailed directly to the registrants as well, just to make sure that everyone has the information. And additional information about the company will be required there, and specific instructions will be provided at that time of posting.
Okay, the next question is, are there minimum amounts for this program? I'm just assuming that this question is there an ask that's too low? And the answer, meaning that could I ask for $5,000? And I don't believe there is, Linda. I don't think that there's any.
No, there's no lower threshold limitation. It's just $187.5 per year as a max, and that's about it.
Okay, so the next question, would a company that is incorporated in the United States but has Canadian resident founders be eligible for this program? So the answer is yes, international companies are eligible matching partners, but applicants would have to demonstrate direct benefits to Canada. In other words, based on the first eHIPP objective, they would have to demonstrate within the Canadian context how the innovation would improve health outcomes, the patient experience, and lower the cost of health care. Note there are 2 evaluation criteria that speak to this. They are the probability the eHealth innovation enabled care delivery program will improve outcomes for the priority area populations within the Canadian health system, and 2, the probability the eHealth innovation enabled care delivery program will be more cost effective for the Canadian healthcare system than usual care. Linda, do you want to add anything further to that?
No, I think you covered it all.
So the next question is, could an independent health services researcher, one who does not have any institutional affiliation, be part of the team? I think the answer to that question is absolutely yes. They would probably not be the principal. I don't think they could be the principal applicant, because they'd have to have an institution that, as a principal applicant, they would be affiliated with, where the money would flow to for the project. Linda, do you have anything to add there?
No, that's correct. And there could be, for example, even individuals from the health technology sector that may want to be on the application itself. There are other classifications for these people in our system, but the principal applicants, and primarily the nominated principal applicant, has to be at an academic institution or an institution that is eligible to receive CIHR funding.
The next question is, will CIHR Access, if the, sorry, I'm just having a little trouble reading this question. Will CIHR Access if the subject technology meets the criteria for TRL prior to the full proposal? So this is related to the technology readiness level. What we've said is that the applicants, gosh, I hope my memory is good on this one. The applicants, by the time they're going to implement the technology into the care delivery program for the purposes of conducting a real-world evaluation, is they would need to be at technology readiness level 6 through 9 at that point, meaning within 6 to 9 months of the, within the first year of the start of the project, they would need to be at that technology readiness level. I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure I was really clear on what the question was. Linda, anything you have to add?
No, that's about it. So the only other thing really, I guess, would be that the CIHR money in year 1 would not be eligible to go towards getting the technology to that readiness level. But of course, the partner money and in-kind contributions can go towards it.
Okay, so the next question is, please provide some examples of what would fall under implementation costs. Typically, there are costs related to actually integrating the eHealth technologies into the underlying IT infrastructure. That would be an implementation cost. The ongoing sort of monitoring, bug fixing, you know, updating of relevant software needed to run the application would be all considered under implementation costs as well.
Well, that's great, everyone. Just an opportunity to ask people if they have any additional questions to please send them through. But again, just to reiterate that myself, Hal Combian, as well as my colleagues at CIHR, Christine and Olivier, we are around and available to answer any questions outside of the time of this webinar. I think we have another one coming through.
So one last question here. So for the youth mental health category, could the clinical lead be an MPH instead of a psychologist, psychiatrist, et cetera? I'm not sure I know what an MPH is. Masters in Public Health, maybe? In any event, what we've certainly learned from working with the, as we've gone across the country, is there are many, many different kinds of professionals involved in the youth and mental health community, and it would be appropriate for them to take the leadership if they're the leads on delivering the clinical service. And I think that's the bottom line here, is that you need to be, if you're going to get into this space of actually changing the way services get delivered, is that you need to be a person who is involved in delivering that service in the usual way it's delivered now. Okay, I think we've come to a lovely end. So thank you very much. Great questions from the folks on the webinar. We're adding all of your wonderful questions to our FAQs, frequently asked questions, that's also on the website. And Linda, I know you want to have final words here.
I just actually heard from my team that there may be system limitations if an individual changes the NPI from registration to full application. So if you are in a situation where you'd like to do that, please email Olivier or Christine, and we'll see what we can do on our end. But if you go in and try and do it on your own, the system may not let you do it. So just to have that clarified. Sorry about that, Robin. I should have turned to my team sooner.
No, no problem, no problem. Okay, well, thanks very much, Linda, for your help on this as well, and to her able assistance as always. So thanks, everyone, and we look forward to seeing your applications. So have a great day.